welcome to another episode of Camp, your weekly podcast on all things automation. My name is Gretchen. I'm the Director of Customer Operations here at Camp Tech Software. Today, I'm joined by Bob DiSciullo, our VP of Sales, and Dennis Stone, our Senior DevOps Engineer. This is a part 2 to our Managed Services podcast, so if you haven't yet seen part 1, I highly recommend it, and we will put the link in our bio below. So Dennis, I want to start off with you. One of the larger questions around managed services and what it is the value proposition or value add to a business. So I would love to hear your insight or commentary on what those value propositions are, and we can start there.
Thank you, Gretchen. I'll break down because a lot of people break the automation strategy into a bunch of different buckets. And to me, it feels like it's 3. You have the identification, you have the development, and you have support. And we'll leave hosted solutions out for a later topic. So to start, you have the identification. So you've decided that you're going to go on an automation journey and that you want to automate parts of your business and eliminate those repetitive, non-value adding tasks. First thing you need to do is identify those opportunities. And there are companies that do specifically that. It's the only thing they do. They specialize in, and there's plenty of them. And you can spend, anywhere from, a couple grand to hundreds of thousands of dollars and have people, identify those opportunities to you, hand them over to you and say, bye-bye. Part 2 is where you get into the development process. So now you've got a list of things to automate, and now you want to go through and develop these things and turn them into actual automations. And you've got companies that do just that, and they do it very well. The third stage, and as a good actor, The Rock, would say, I've given you the dessert, now I'm going to get into the veggies. Very few, if any, people do automation support. And I think there's a reason for that. One, we'll get into a real life example that has nothing to do with RPA. How many people have done or experimented with home automation? 15 years ago, you had to be a developer and an engineer. You had to have soldering skills. You had to, own a Raspberry Pi or an Arduino. You had to know some assembly language or, different programming languages, and you had to wire things in your house. Right? You were an uber nerd if you could automate things 15 years ago in your house. 5 to 10 years ago, you weren't that extreme, but you still had to be a tech enthusiast or someone that works in tech. You had to be a little bit more educated in the field. You couldn't just be, I'm in accounting and I want to automate my house. Now, you really just have to be able to go beep, boop, bop, boop, beep, and put in, be able to configure a Wi-Fi, or maybe you just walk over and you hit WPS, click. Now you have home automation. That's awesome, right? Everything's automated. It's not secure, but it's automated. Here is where the rub happens. You go on Honeywell or Apple or any one of these companies that do home automation, and you get on their support forums, and you will see endless tragedies, frustrations, people pulling out their hair and pulling a Chris Farley and going, because they went on vacation and they came home and all their stuff was missing out of their garage, and they have a family of raccoons living because it decided the garage needed to be opened. So automations work great until they don't. What does that mean? That means you could deploy an automation. You could pay a large company that does automations, and they'll do a great job, and they'll create some awesome, cool things. Mm-hmm. But the minute you deploy it, you're on a ticking time bomb before it breaks. Whether that's an application update, whether that's a business process change, whether that is just any one of a number of microservices that changes just the slightest thing. Now, all of a sudden that's broken. And a lot of people, and we hear this all the time, They'll say, no, I'll handle the support. I'll handle that. I'll take. We have IT people. How many people, and not you, Bob, not you, Gretchen. How many people listening to this work for a company that have an IT organization, whether it's internal or external, of those processes, procedures, and tasks that they do? How many of them are proactive? How often are they walking around looking for things that might break? No, it's a very reactive, putting out fires. They're going through and they're answering the phone or an email or answering a ticket, right? How many of those people are familiar with automation software applications, BUI, Path, Blue Prism, but Power Automate, what, name any one of them. They're not, right? And how many of those people can be RPA developers? And that's the key, because we have support people, right? And of those support people, they're very talented individuals, because they're not answering a phone and going, let me look into that for you. No, because you may have a problem, a business critical problem at 2 a.m. on a Saturday that literally breaks your business, or stops a bunch of payments from being processed, which then throws the monthly general ledger close off and creates an accounting nightmare for the next 3 weeks, right? Your support person needs to be an RPA developer. In fact, they need to be better than an RPA developer, because they need to look at someone else's code, figure it out quickly, make a change, fix the problem. They can't go, I'll have to wait for a developer. Let me put in a ticket. No. So that's why I call it the veggies. Very few people can handle that. So the value proposition that Camtech brings is, one, and this is a sales pitch. We're one of the few people that I know that cradle to grave, and I say that's like a broken record, but you can come to us, we can sit down with you, we can identify parts of your business that could be automated. We can do task mining, we can do process mining, we can develop those automations. We can teach you how to develop automations. We can get into COE and COE enablement and all that. That's many, and there probably already are podcasts about it. And then when we automate those, when we develop those and we turn them over to you, we can support them, right? You're not on your own. We're not gonna go, okay, little ducky, swim on your own. Don't come back. We don't want to hear about it. No, we're there. So that to me is the biggest. You get into hosting. We'll get into it in another question. Well, I don't want to speak too much on this, but to me, that's the value prop that we bring to the market that very few people, if anybody, do, and do it to the point to where they live for it. We're RPA nerds. We're driven. The head of the company is an RPA nerd that was doing RPA before RPA was a thing. So that's really what we bring to the market, is cradle to grave, and we're very good at support, and your automations are going to break.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dennis. I think that covers a lot of the value proposition, value add for on the Camtech side with managed services, both from a technical point of view, but also from a business perspective, and shorting that time to market, making sure your automations are supported, but also rebuilding that ROI as the investment piece for hiring a managed services company to host and support your automations. And you're dead on when you say our support team is more than just RPA developers. They are in there, like you said, learning other people's code, which while we do have code standards and code checks, can come with its nuances here and there. So they're also learning processes, right? And hosting and understanding all of those process steps with appropriate documentation that our developer team and project teams hands over to them. So a lot of knowledge being housed in our support team that often would be difficult for a non-focused RPA managed services department or area. So our second question within this managed services podcast, part 2, is the benefits to a business, which I think Dennis covered a little bit of, but we did want to elaborate a little bit more. And Bob, if you feel comfortable, I'd love to hand this one over to you to kind of talk about that perspective and what your conversations look like with clients who might be interested in managed services or thinking about it, and how their business can benefit from day one.
Sure. Thank you. So Camtech software our managed services can deliver several benefits. Overall, it's a speed to value. I always talk to our customers about low risk, high ROI. Especially when you're beginning your automation journey, you want to hit it out of the park right at the onset. You want to get a quick win. We offer that. Some of the points of benefits are increased efficiency, obviously, by automating tasks or workflows. Businesses can focus and operate more efficiently, reallocating their resources, their FTEs, their SMEs. So reallocation is big. Obviously, cost reduction. Automation reduces manual costs, minimizes errors, and adds to a significant cost savings. Enhance accuracy. We see this all the time. Obviously, these are mundane tasks. Humans make mistakes. Bots do not. They ensure consistency and accuracy in the process, reduce the errors, and ensure compliance with regulatory requirements. The other is scalability. We're not just thinking of the short term, we're thinking of the long term as these bots continue to grow. So they're scalable, they're built to be scalable and flexible, adapting to the business needs, enabling organizations to grow without any constraints. And then for a lot of our customers as well is improved customer experiences. Streamlining the processes lead to faster response times, better service, and ultimately enhance customer satisfaction.
Yeah.
So
I would also add that within the discovery phase, allowing our customer success team or business analysts sort of in the room to assist with those conversations is definitely helpful to get to market faster with your automation potential. We're also willing and open to having those conversations with process owner teams who might be a little hesitant to adopt automation. While it might be worthwhile for the business or for the leadership teams, oftentimes those conversations with the process owners or the SME teams can be a little bit challenging. As we know, automation is not here to take your job from you. We're here to support you in your work. And so we are available to have those conversations as well and kind of alleviate those leadership teams or help teach and refocus around what the automation means for the work that's being done downstream.
I want to touch on a point, Gretchen. You said nobody's trying to take your job. So looking from most of the time, we handle the sales process of automations from the top down because business is looking for value. They're looking to eliminate, repetitives. They're looking to, eliminate mistakes. And ultimately, when you go into an organization and people start talking or pitching the idea of automation, that's the first thing that happens. It's the same thing when all of a sudden the automation menu board at McDonald's pops up. That's a bit different scenario. Here, we're literally not trying to take your job. And I think that for the most part, people aren't looking to respond to the desire to cut work. If you look at, and be transparent, I'm trying to always evaluate the value that I add to the organization, and that results in me taking on work that I probably shouldn't. You may tend to say yes to things that you probably should say no to, but when you're doing that work, I'll give an example. Like every quarter, and it's not something that I don't like to do, but every quarter I have to go through, and for security reasons, we go through and we extract all of the accounts across all the platforms and all the applications that we have. And I have to go through in a spreadsheet and basically say, who is this? What access do they have? Is that valid? Is it too much? Is it too little? And basically compile all this data and make sure that we have the right things in the right places for our SOC 2 audits. Right? It's mind-numbing, but very important work and mistake prone. So you have to focus, and you do it on. I do these little chunks. You get the little clock timer, and 10 minutes, and then get up, walk away. 10 minutes, walk away. There are many tasks that if you sit there and you think about it, you get anxiety because you're going through and either one, you're not very efficient at it, or two, it's just manual, pardon the French, crap labor. And you're just like, ugh, I want to be done with this. And your mind instantly starts to go into daydream mode, and you think about this and you think about that. And it's like reading a book, but you're thinking about something. How many times do you have to go back through that same paragraph before you finally have truly read it and not thinking about something else? That's how the mistakes happen. That's how it takes forever. And that anxiety, that thing, you don't want to do it anyway. Why are you trying to protect it? Let it go. That's what we're trying to take. Frozen. Let it go. Let it go. It's not interesting, right? We want to remove that from you so the business doesn't have to go out and hire more people to do the cool stuff like expanding into a market or going into a new vertical or just a new initiative, because it's not about firing you. It's how many times, even internally in Camp Tech, do you sit down and you go, all right, let's take an inventory of our resources. We want to do this. Who do we got available? Right. And a lot of people are like, oh no, I'm doing this. Oh, I'm doing this. Oh, I'm doing this. All we want to do is get rid of that work so you can do the fun and exciting things that don't make you daydream.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got excited on that one.
No, nicely put, Dennis. It's really good insight, especially with the visuals. I think we can all relate to having work on our plates that, we'd rather look out our windows from our offices or go for a walk for coffee to kind of alleviate that stress or that need to get that work done. And that's certainly something we want to do, particularly in the healthcare space. We work with a lot of process owner teams who would rather and need to be spending their time one-on-one with patients or looking into patients' eyes and assisting them in some way with their healthcare services versus just staring at a computer and inputting data. A really good example of that is our physician letter bot that we did a couple of years ago, where the physicians were spending an inordinate amount of time writing letters and typing up letters on the computer when, their value add to a hospital is out of this world. And so we want them to be spending time with patients versus typing things up on a computer. And we were able to automate that process.
Exactly.
Excellent description, Dennis. Really appreciate that feedback in terms of managed services and benefits to the business and also to the SME teams, which is who we want to be supporting in these automation initiatives. So really what it comes down to is what sets Camp Tech apart. We have our managed services cycle, which we've spoken to at length. We have an excellent and an incredible support team. Our customer success team is there adding value regularly to expand and educate. And of course, all of our engineers and our developers, our sales teams, et cetera. So Bob, I'm going to hand this one over to you, but if you could just do a rundown on really what sets Camp Tech apart in the marketplace when people are looking for managed services and an RPA initiative.
Yes, great. Yes, so from the onset of Camp Tech software, we've been focused on support. And I think, as Dennis mentioned earlier, proactive support, not just, okay, something broke, can we go fix it, or handling a bug fix. We're proactively monitoring the applications. So we're always trying to be proactive and making sure the bots are running. We say this a lot, most RPA initiatives fail, 50% fail on their first try. Companies like UiPath and the others told or will try to inform their customers that anybody can build these, anyone can support them, it's easy. Well, that's not the case. Like I said, the industry standard right now is half of all internal initiatives fail the first time because people really don't know, what they're getting themselves into. We've done that. We've been doing it for a long time. So it's the development, it's the proactive support. So we have the industry expertise. So myself and the founders of this organization have been doing RPA for 20 years. So we have a lot of experience at this. Matter of fact, we went to a HIMSS conference 6 years ago, and UiPath was there. And we went up and we started talking to them about healthcare, and they knew nothing about healthcare. Had no stories, had no bots. So we had already like I said, been in the business for 20 years, built bots against Epic and Cerner and McKesson and Vision, ECW, you name it. So we have the industry expertise. We're also always trying to stay on top of the latest technology. Again, I've been at 2 conferences in the last month. All everyone wants to talk about is AI, although no one really understands what it does. So we actually incorporate AI into a lot of our bots, and also as well as some of our IDP bots, our document understanding bots, use models. So we're very, on the cutting edge of all the technologies, whether it's AI or IDP or chat, you name it. So we're trying to stay on top of that and incorporate it when it's the best fit. Always looking for the best fit for that type of thing. So the other piece is we're I always feel like we're client centric. These aren't cookie cutter bots that have to be retrofitted. We build the bots to the specific needs of the customer. So we work with them, in the onset to do the discovery and make sure we build the bots to their particular needs. And again, because we've been doing this a long time, we do have a proven track record of building successful bots. And from another key point is that if you go to our website, we post case studies of actual bots. I call them actual bots in production, because anyone can say they can build a bot, but we have built the bots. So you can go there and look up topics in healthcare and financial services and supply chain, IT and HR, you name it. And we have bots running, videos of bots running in production. So that to me is a key differentiator. Another area is I'll call, ownership and reusability. Our customers own all the assets. And if you're familiar with healthcare and you're familiar with one of the bigger players that came on the scene very quickly and grew very fast and then went out of business, Olive, and I'll have no problem naming them because they're what they did was they built proprietary bots and they were not reusable. So the problem was when they went out of business, you can't just turn those off and turn them on. You have to rebuild them from scratch. We use industry standard platforms, UiPath. And again, our customers own the bots. So if you decided you wanted to bring the bots in-house tomorrow, we could turn them over to you and they'd be running in an hour. So that's a huge key differentiator for us. The other thing is, again, we focus on support. We're not just coming in there and developing the bots and dropping them off at your doorstep. We're here to support them. So, from, as Dennis said, cradle to grave, we're here, we're proactively supporting them and making sure those bots stay up and run. One of the things we've done in addition to just monitoring the bots is we create custom dashboards for every bot you own. So on a daily basis, you can go in and look at the metrics and see how it's been running for the day and see how many transactions it ran and get the key performance indicators off of that bot, obviously, to prove out the value that these bots are bringing to the organization.
Yeah, that's great, Bob. Thank you for that overview. And I think that's a great place to wrap up today's podcast, which is Managed Services Part 2. And again, if you haven't seen Part 1, we will definitely link it in the bio. But if not, it is available on our YouTube and podcast page on our website. So please take a look. Please take a listen. We look forward to